So, I like anime. I've liked anime for a long time, in fact, ever since my siblings exposed it to me back at the young, tender age of 11 or something. Japanese anime has been crossing the seas into America, and it's been here for a while now, you know. Practically its own subculture, actually. Whether you like it or not, it's an animation medium that people have accepted or rejected as art. And what I'm analyzing today uses the medium known as anime to show or tell its story. So, I don't know, deal with it. Anime viewer phases have come and gone for me, and I like to think I've reached a stage where anime in general won't be as glory-filled as it once was for me, and, well, I've accepted that. Before, I would turn up my nose on terrible anime that I deemed unworthy and label it as trash and throw it in the garbage with a sneer and without thinking twice about it. I would uphold all anime to a golden standard, all based on early anime that I first watched and adored. Back in the day, I would toss anime into the garbage and deem any fan of said anime into a similar category, an angsty casual with no taste. I'm looking at you, Seven Deadly Sin fans. But these days, hell man, I'm living in that garbage can now. I'm like sorting my trash, going back to it, giving it another chance, thinking what's salvageable and seeing what could be recycled, or finding what simply is garbage, and always will be garbage. I know that upholding a golden standard for every single anime to go by is by no means logical, and I have accepted that. Some anime is good, bad, or maybe somewhere in between. Back to the topic at hand, there was a series that sort of always escaped my reach, and I'd like to analyze it because, frankly, I have no clue why I like it so much. That series being Valkyria Chronicles. So, what is Valkyria Chronicles? Well, I'm glad you asked that because it's garbage, but it smells good. No, but seriously, I think the series is interesting, even though it's kind of got some cringe to it. Now, as a public service announcement, I've only just jumped into the kiddie pool of this series, and I've only completed the first game and watched the entire anime, excluding those OVA episodes. But in my credit, I platinumed that. So just what is Valkyria Chronicles? What is it all about? Well, Valkyria Chronicles, Valkyria, you know, this is becoming a chore to say and type out for the sake of time. Let's just call it VC. So VC is a military-themed tactical role-playing game created by Ryutaro Nanaka and Shuntaro Tanaka. Well, I butchered those names, and I'm really sorry about that. But it was published by Sega. Yeah, that Sega. The series has about 4 different games and even a spin-off set in an alternate universe, or so I hear. The series has also some animation adaptations along with some manga, which, sorry, I'm not going to really talk about this because, well, I could honestly make a whole video overview on an anime, so I'm not going to be doing that here. Sorry. Now, I'm only going to be looking at the first game here because that's the one I know and I've played, and I haven't really touched any of the other entries just yet. The game takes place during the earlier years of World War II type of era, and the region is divided into 2 major governmental powers. The East European? I think it's European. The East European Imperial Alliance, who I swear to God are the equivalent to an anime version of Nazis, and the Atlantic Federation, who you don't really see or hear that much about anyway, so yeah. These 2 nations are fighting one another, and the major cause of the war seems to be over an energy resource known as Ragnite ore. Think of Ragnite as like this universe's equivalent to our petroleum. Anyway, you'd probably think that the Imperial Nation are the bad guys, and you'd be right, but what you might be surprised to find out is that the good guys are not exactly the Atlantic Federation. No, our little cast of heroes / protagonists is a little nation called Poland. I mean Gallia. It's called Gallia. Gallia is a nation stuck between these 2 fighting nations and wants to stay strictly neutral in the war. Now, why is this nation so important to the story? See, I made a joke earlier that they were similar to Poland, but in reality, they're more similar to like somewhere in the Middle East where there is tons and tons of oil. They have an abundance of Ragnite ore, like a lot of it. So the Imperial Alliance decides to just invade Gallia for these resources, and Gallia, being neutral in the big war, can't really ask for help from the Atlantic Federation because, well, then they wouldn't be neutral anymore. And you see where I'm going with this? It's like the whole World War II's whole alliances enemy type problems in a nutshell that they were having in our world. It's whatever. You're probably like, hey, Pix, what's the deal? Is this Ragnite material that important to invade someone over? Yes it is. In this universe, Ragnite is like everything. It powers cars, homes, technology. People can even use it to heal wounds. It's crazy. And between the two nations' ongoing war, it's growing more and more scarce as a resource. So I like to gloss over a teensy-weensy little subplot that we got going on in this whole universe of our fake European nation of fiction and what not have you. There's a little bit of racism that happens in the game. It's just kind of, it's there. It's apparent. It's with these people called the Darkson people. Like, it is what it is. People hate them for like no reason. There's like no reason at all. And the only difference between the Darkson people is that they have dark hair and dark eyes. And that's pretty much it. And people just hate them for no reason. Yeah. And then you have these other people called the Valkyries. Well, they're not really around per se. If you're lucky, you might have Valkyrie blood in your gene pool, which gives you access to immense cosmic power. We're getting a little sidetracked here, but the Valkyrie is an ancient race of people that once roamed this universe's world, and they had a vast amounts of technology and were a very advanced people. But then one day they just mysteriously vanished. They kind of have a tie-in with why the people hate the Darkson people, but I don't want to get into the whole lore background. I gotta keep this analytical thing kind of brief. But the game, I can't really say the game treats the whole situation that well. It's just like the Darkson people literally have no physical traits to me that make them that apparent from different people. So to me, it's just kind of a weak subplot, but it's there. It happens. It's what it is. One of the main characters is a Darkson, and one of your other main characters really, really hates this character for no other reason other than that she's just a Darkson, which is it's a really good character plot and development point, and they handle that portion kind of well. But the whole situation is just stupid. It's dumb. I don't like it. It's whatever. So, little Gallia has to fend for its own and make the Imperial army retreat, and that's where you, the player, gets to come in. You get to play as this game's main protagonist, Welkin Gunther, who is coincidentally the son of the nation's own war hero and General Belkin Gunther, or whatever. I don't really care about ruining his name because this character is never really shown and only mentioned through like text or dialogue. And if anything, his dad is used as a device for Welkin's heroic lineage TV trope thing that they got going on. He's basically like, the universe basically treats him like, oh, you're that son of the general from the first war. We got this war in the bag. If you're on our side, that's totally how that works. Now, to Welkin's credit, he's highly, highly intelligent when it comes to strategy and stuff. But I mean, you as the player kind of play through him, so if anything, you're highly intelligent, and Welkin's just kind of Welkin. If anything, he's just a big nerd. That's all he really is. But the whole game is you playing as this guy and some other key important characters, and you get to build a squad, you get to outfit them with equipment, level them up, and play with them out in the battlefield. The game is turn-based, sort of, where the player and the computer-controlled AI play against one another on a field map with certain objectives or conditions that must be met in order to win that level. When it's the player's turn, they get a set number of actions they can use up before their turn is over. We call them action medals because in-game they're in the shape of a medal, and spend them in order to execute certain orders to your characters. And so you select a character to command, and then the game goes in from this planning overhead map to right behind the character that you selected, and goes into an action style type game. So you've picked your character and you're ready for them to do some kind of action. Well, the first thing that you should know is you have a set amount of movement that you can do with that character. You can't just run around free as you please like real life or anything. Oh no, you have a set amount that you can move, and that is displayed on a bar/energy gauge. And oh yeah, if you think that's bad, the enemy team can take this time to shoot you. So don't just be running up to the bad guys thinking you're a one-man army, because you're gonna die. So once you've moved your max amount and maybe you're lucky enough to be in the range of some bad guys, you can press the shoot button to bring up some kind of crosshairs for your weapon, and you can line it up just right and you can possibly shoot somebody. You can aim for the body for normal damage, or you can try your luck and aim for the head and hopefully get some critical damage on these evil Imperial dogs. Going for the head, depending on your range, can cause a chance for your character to miss, or even worse, the enemy can sometimes dodge altogether. F you, Ty the Immortal. Then, that's it. That's your turn. Better end it fast before the enemy shoots your guy to death, because once you use up all your moves, it's the enemy's turn to move. Yeah, now the bad guys get to move units like you kind of did, and they are honestly merciless. Merciless. This isn't some dumb AI that lets you win all the time. The bad guy anime Nazis are literally hunting you down and will kill you every chance they get. And let me tell you, if you left a guy out in the open, they're probably gonna die, or maybe they won't, depending on the class of the character. So each character has a certain class, which in this game is divided into 5 different classes. They all have their own advantages and disadvantages. For instance, the scouts have the highest mobility bar and can get almost anywhere they please on the map, but their weapon itself isn't too strong and they're weak against most enemy attacks. Then you have a class like the sniper, who has the least amount of movement, but their weapon itself can shoot the farthest. Now, Welkin Gunther, on the other hand, your main guy, however, is a special class all on his own. He drives a tank. Yeah, one of the interesting notes to point about this game is that there are tanks that you can use and destroy, and they're pretty cool looking. I like them, they're nice. But yeah, as Welkin, he's kind of the commander out of the whole cast of characters, so he's the leader in the tank. Now that I've painted the setting for you and given you a basic understanding about this game, you're probably thinking, whoa, picks, character classes, strategy, tanks? This game looks great. Why wouldn't anyone enjoy this series? Well, you see, my naive noob, this game is very and utterly, most definitely, positively, broken. See, this game has been out since 2008, and it's been ported and remastered to the current generation consoles, and I'm not sure how, but I ended up with this remastered edition that came in a steel case. Yeah, no joke. I think this game was on sale at GameStop, and I was bored looking for a cheap game to pass the time with. And when I picked out this game, I took it up to the counter, and the store clerk looked at me and said, "Hey, do you want a steel case version?" I was like, sure. And so with my deal of the day, I went home and played it for about a few hours. Yeah, for real. I went out, bought a game, and then I didn't touch it again for about 4 years. I'm sure gamers alike can relate. When I first booted up the game, I thought it was pretty neat, but I'm pretty sure some other game around that time came out and took up my attention, or was it school? Or was it work? I don't know. The point is, I had the game for a long time, and I sat on it. Yeah, so basically my history with this game is a repeated process of picking it up for a bit, putting it back, picking it up, putting it back again, and eventually it sat on my shelf for like a while. And yeah, I just started collecting dust, and it kind of just worked out that way. Something in me changed, however. Eventually, I would stare up at that steel case on my shelf and tell myself, yeah, let's boot up that game. Something about this case and its artwork just appealed to me, and it made me play the game time to time. But there was a time where it just sat on my shelf and I totally forgot about it, that I even owned it. I forgot where I got the game. I forgot why I had like a fancy case for it. It was nice to look at, but at the same time I was like, why did I get this game? How did I acquire it? I don't even remember. Eventually I said, okay, I gotta finish this game. Why did I have a fancy steel case for a game and not finish it? So I decided to sit down and play it. And I'm not that good at it. Yeah, my first playthrough, yeah, I didn't just play this game all the way through once, but twice. And I had to do 2 playthroughs of the game in order to get the Platinum Trophy on the PS4. My first playthrough wasn't glorious. I would die or fail, and sometimes my soldiers that I was commanding would die too. And when that happened, I would just quit or restart the game. And you see, the blunder of me shelving this game for 4 years off and on, I forgot that when a unit dies, they aren't dead forever like some games. No, I actually had a chance to revive them and restore my fallen soldiers by simply getting another unit over to their corpse so I can call a medic that would safely retreat them to safety no matter how deep in enemy territory you were. Yeah, when I play games where I'm in charge of like a party or characters or soldiers, I have this weird habit of wanting them all to survive to the end no matter the cost, and that's how I roll. I don't know why. Like in Halo, I would give like the good weapons to all the Marines just because they had infinite ammo, and 2, like they would survive a little longer if you gave them a shotgun or a rocket launcher. Once I relearned this function of restoring my fallen comrades, the game was a little easier for me, but eventually I got stuck on a chapter. Episode 9, A Midsummer Incident. This fucking mission was hell. It was hell. I must have played it over and over 20 times. The mission is, you see, you have to stop a car from escaping the map, but you can't blow it up with your tank or else your queen, who was kidnapped and being used as a hostage, would die inside the car with it. You had to take a grunt soldier and shoot the back of the car's weak spot, but of course the car itself has a turret attached to it that shoots you when you get close, and enemy soldiers also appear on the map and try to harm you. So yeah, trying to keep everybody alive while also trying to kill this car without killing the people inside of it was the worst mission I could ever think of. After weeks of losing, I did what any sensible gamer would do. Look online for answers or cheat codes. In my act of doing so, I discovered a tactic that more or less broke everything I know about this game. So Welkin, your main character, has access to these special moves known as orders that he can learn or pick up along the way. These orders can add special stat empowering boosts to your units, or even help them like heal them from their wounds, or you can make them retreat, or even you can even call in sniper support or bomb support, and it all sounds cool, and it totally is, but these orders can stack, meaning you can give a bunch of support boots to one character, essentially turning them into a one-man army. They cost unit medals to use, so using orders can mean you won't get to move a character like you usually would. But oh my god, using orders. I was able to take this chapter that normally took multiple turns to finish it and took multiple weeks of dying over and over again, and I completed it in 1 turn instead. Yeah, 1 turn was all it took to finish this level. All I had to do was add a damage boost to one of my shock troopers, run up behind the car, and keep blasting away until its health was depleted. So yeah, the game is lacking in the whole game balance design department. Any programming or planning that went into the enemy's AI for this whole level was just ruined because I can just spam orders and finish the level in just 1 turn. And it gets worse, but more on that later. So all in all, the story for this game is... it's okay. I like the setting, the characters aren't overly annoying, and the story itself isn't too predictable, and there even were a few turns here and there that actually surprised me. But the voice dialogue really kills it. It's just overly dramatic, and while the voice actors aren't terrible at what they're doing, the dialogue just sounds bad. If you can't stand dubbed anime, I recommend just changing the voices over to the original Japanese version, which you can do in the options menu. But I didn't. I kept those campy, cringy English voices just because. I don't know, they just grew on me, I guess. The artwork is amazing. for an anime. It's not overly different in terms of structure when compared to any kind of anime style from the early 2000s, but it does have its charm to it. Something about this comic book, watercolor, messy drawn style appeals to me. It's pleasing to look at. But on terms of gameplay, well, the way I see it, there are two ways you can play this game. You can choose to just have fun with it, pick characters you actually like out of the roster, nurture them, help them grow, listen to their witty banter, and kill anime Nazis, which will take forever because that's how I was first playing this game. Or you can abuse game mechanics and beat this game in a day. Now, in my defense, when I was abusing the order system and breezing through the game, I had already beaten the game once, and when you beat the game once, you can carry over stats and stuff from your first playthrough of the game into the second playthrough. So maybe the reason I was able to breeze through the game a second time is because all my units were leveled up close to their max level they could go. I'm not really sure. Either way, it's trash. This game is anime trash. It's just unbalanced. The game is trashy, guys. The characters are unbalanced. Anime trope stereotypes are running amok. There's a bad animal character that is supposed to be cute, but instead is just annoying with the signature catchphrase spoken in its weird animal noises. There's a beach scene that someone in real life paid for in DLC, I think. Jiggle mechanics, and the game is broken or sometimes just straight up challenging and unfair. So, why do I like it? Why do I enjoy this game? Why did I spend 3 or 4 days trying to get a platinum for a game that I thought is trash? I haven't quite placed my finger on it yet. To be honest, maybe it was just I was overstressed, wanting a distraction from life, and my outlet for that is fully completing a game to the point of getting every little thing out of it, because I'm good at that kind of stuff, whereas real life, not so much. But I think I can pinpoint a few things I like about this game. The art, for one. Yeah, I'll say it. I'm a real art snob. If a game looks appealing enough and has some sort of charm or is nice to look at, I'm already going to get a decent grade, out of this game for me. This is how it goes. I know that's bad to say because good graphics don't always make the game a good game, but they sure do improve the effect of being immersed into another world. Call me spoiled or privileged, I don't care. At least I'm honest enough to admit it. But no, yeah, this art style is good. The box cover to my steel case for the game was enough to get me to sit down and play it over and over again. However, the game itself kinda cheats in that department. Most of the dialogue is said through framed windows of the characters doing small animations. To me, it's a cheap way for the development team to not have to spend so much time animating. Kinda like a person sitting behind a desk, just talking. Not really moving. The characters themselves aren't that dynamic, and honestly their tropes are a little dated. The Imperial Army are exactly how you would picture them. Super bad guys that can just stand there and you just look at them and you know, oh yeah, they're the bad guys, alright. But there are a few characters in the roster I seem to enjoy. For one, forget the main cast. I could live without them. Which is kind of saying a lot, I think. To say just forget the whole main set of characters the story is structured around is kind of a sign that your story isn't that very good or compelling, but that's just me. I'm sure someone out there really likes Welkin or Rosie or Largo, even though he can't hit the broadside of a barn. No, not me. I have a handful of characters in the roster that I liked, and they all hold a special place in my heart, and that's about it. I liked using these units, hearing them talk with their own personalities and quirks, and it's a real shame that not every character gets to have important scenes or seen doing anything in the cinematic portions of the game. You just watch Welkin, Alicia, and Rosie, Largo, and a few other characters doing stuff. Okay, so you got a sweet art style, a lame cast of characters, but the setting is still appealing at least. Don't get me wrong, I'm very happy to have been born around the time that I am now, and not in a terrible slaughter of war with ancient simplistic ideals and morals, but wow, do I get a kick out of all this old war stuff. I love the guns, the tanks, the potato masher grenades, the uniforms, the border politics, the military briefings, all that weird stuff. It's funny, because I can't say I would really excel in a world such as this, and in reality, war is hell and scary, and I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through all that terror. But damn, is it a guilty pleasure. I'm scum for enjoying my privileged life, but it is what it is. Maybe the universe is rewarding me for being born in this kind of lifestyle, for a previous miserable life. You don't know. But yeah, I like the setting. It's a terrible time, but this terrible time is making certain individuals have to stand up and believe in a cause. I think that's admirable. It's likable. It builds good foundation to a story. Like, look at this. There's tons and tons of lore and information that goes around in the background of this game that isn't always out right in front of you. There's probably a whole YouTube channel actually just dedicated to the amount of lore that Valkyria series has, but I don't know of it because I don't have any YouTube friends. What are you gonna do? Inside the game itself, there's a lot of text to read about what the going-ons in the universe or events happening in the world, info on weapon types, and even character backstory and information. But all that's kind of a lot to read, and I sort of either felt I didn't have time for it or I just wasn't too interested in every little thing. But it's still kind of cool. Like, for instance, so every character will have this profile page that is about them, okay? From side characters to all the units that you can use in battle. They all have backstories and reasons for joining the military, which is interesting and entertaining to know. I love that stuff. And it gets even better. The units you all come with, they come with these perks or talents. The game calls them potentials, but I'll just call them for what they are. They're perks, which activate as a stat boost of some kind. Not all of them are good, mind you, and some can even be bad. But some of these perks are tied into their backstories. Like one of the sniper unit characters gets really nervous when she gets low on ammo. The perk lowers her accuracy when it triggers, but the reason they have this perk is because this character watched a comrade die in battle before their eyes when they could have saved them if they had just enough ammo at that time. That's a great game mechanic, tying in perks or stat boosts to a backstory. I love stuff like that. Some characters will only unlock once certain conditions are met in the game. Like a character falling in battle will be a new character's reason to join the military and fight alongside them. It's a small little detail, but it brings out this realistic side. Like, yeah, this is a bad army or a war, and it's affecting your very way of life. You can either let life change you, or you can try and make a difference, and that's one of the underlying themes of this game. That I have to stop my way of life and do what I have to do. But the gameplay, it's just so broken. For one particular character, who is a scout, you can buff her with orders, have this class that is normally not good at tanking damage, run straight past enemy fire, clear an enemy camp/base, take it over, and win the level in about 1 or 3 turns. It's funny at first, but then you sort of realize that there's no strategy to this strategy turn-based game. It's just lacking or not apparent. Could I recommend this game to someone? Not really, no. I can't really say the things I like about this game would particularly interest others who would want to try it. The reason I like the series doesn't really outweigh the cons of this particular game, or the anime for that matter. It's hard to put into words, but like, I know this game is garbage and it's garbage to watch, but at the same time, I like it. But I don't know if anybody else would, so I can't really say I would recommend it. Just trying to platinum the game alone and trying to enjoy it was 2 different experiences. The story took a while for it to really kick off and engage me, and the requirements to get a platinum trophy via the PS4 require you to make 2 playthroughs. Make sure no one outright dies, and you have to get A ranks in all the levels, and for you to unlock every little thing. So it was a good distraction, and I enjoyed the challenge the game had for me, but I can't say that you'll particularly like it, or that you may or may not find it challenging at all with how unbalanced some of these characters seem to have stat-wise. So, as I said before, I'm new to this series, and one of the things that is piquing my interest in this series is the other 4 games that are already out. I can't wait to find out what happens in this universe and see how the gameplay adapts and changes. I feel like there's so much potential this series can bring to the table. More cool characters, more classes to pick from, more equipment, and possibly outfits/gear you can pick to give advantages to certain characters. I want to try them all and give them my honest opinion about them. I'm a late blooming fan, and that's okay, because you don't always have to enjoy something that others people may or may not enjoy. I just beat the first installment with all the DLC and watched the anime, which I plan to give a review on its own because I feel like it's worth talking about. Currently, I'm trying to get my PSP to work so I can play the sequel, Valkyria Chronicles 2, but so far my old PSP is having some trouble and I can't seem to find a PS Vita since they seem to be discontinued nowadays. But I'm optimistic that this series is going to be nothing but improvements from here on out. Yes, there's nowhere to go but up from here. Oh. That's not a good sign.